Ladies and gentlemen, it is finally time to discuss something that is probably long overdue. And that is, what do we do with the top three in this lineup? Of course, Vlad, Bo, and Springer. We're going to get into that on today's episode.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Just before we get into it, of course, rain delay today. The Blue Jays lose 2-1. I got some things to say on this, but we'll get into that later. We got something big to cover, but before we even get into that, we want to thank you guys a ton for the amount of support and interaction that we had after yesterday's video. It was there were some takes. There were some takes by us. There were some takes by a lot of people in the comments. It was interesting to see. I think we really got to, get into it with some of you guys in the comment section of if it is the YouTube or the TikToks, Instagram, whatever it was. If you guys want to check out our Twitters, Braden Five Wasco, Carter First Two, as well as our TikTok and Instagram, both at Locked On Blue Jays. And of course, make sure you guys drop a subscribe here on YouTube, or if you're listening everywhere else, we really appreciate it. And keep commenting. It was a lot of fun. I think really fun morning for us. I know we kept going back and forth on some of the interesting comments we got and some of the great comments we got. I think, somebody gave me a little pat on the back, so that was nice too. But Carter, we've been talking about this for a while. Me and you behind the scenes, just trying to figure out when we wanted to do this. We weren't sure if it was too early. Turns out not too early. Today it needs to be talked about. We left it till Friday. We wanted to make sure we get this out to you guys. What do we do with this top three in our lineup? Vlad, Bo, and Springer. It's been a problem. We can't score runs, and you need the guys who are going to lead off the innings, get the most at-bats to get on base and score. But it hasn't been happening. So where do we go from here?
Yeah, I don't think it's news to anyone that George Springer, Bichette, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. are struggling. They're all hitting under 245. That's not going to play. The extra base hits aren't coming. No production at the top of this lineup. Going into the season, you thought it'd kind of be reversed. You looked at this offseason. You saw them the Blue Jays bring in Justin Turner. You saw them bring in IKF as their second big signing. You probably expected the top of this order to be fine and then us to be lacking depth throughout the lineup. But it's been the exact opposite. I think we've gotten more than enough so far from our bench for sure. IKF has been pleasantly good. Justin Turner, don't have to say too much about him. He's been the best hitter on this team. But then, you got a black hole at the top of your order, which I never thought we'd have to say for this Toronto Blue Jays team. And part of that reason is obviously Bichette and Vladdy. So clearly they have not been good. I'm going to quickly get into their stats here. So I combined their stats for this one. They have 187 at-bats combined, 42 hits. Only 13 of those are extra base hits. They have 4 home runs with a combined average of 225, a slugging of 343, and an OPS of 653. Obviously, we don't have to say this. You can see it just by the eye test. It's obviously showing you these guys aren't hitting. But what is the problem? Why has it taken so long for the Blue Jays to kind of get their feet under them this season? Something has to change. And the first thing is that I noticed, I think every Blue Jays fan notices this, Bichette's obviously a very free swinger. Usually swings, he attacks pitches. He's not going to wait around for his pitch. Vladdy usually does pretty good damage off the first pitch as well. So I was looking into this as I had time today throughout the rain delay because I had an exam. Then I was excited to watch the Blue Jays game. Then obviously, rain delay, thought it would come back on, didn't end up coming back on. So with Vladdy and Bichette swings at a ton of first pitches. For some reason, they are not doing it as often this season. So from 2019 to 2023, Vladdy swung at 39% of the first pitches, with Bichette swinging at 44% of them. This year, Vladdy is only swinging at 29% of first pitches, and Bichette is only swinging at 38%. So they're both down on first pitch swing rates, and their slugging percentage is drastically down as well. Almost double. They were hitting around 650, both of them, and now their slugging percentages this year are around 300, just over that for slugging. So I don't know if it's an approach thing. I don't know if they're just swinging at whatever the first pitch, or they're not swinging enough at the first pitch, but I don't know if it's an approach thing where they're not looking in a specific spot for a specific pitch. I don't know what the problem is, but you think they'd have, when they're aggressive, they're hitting well. So you want to let the floodgates open. You want them to swing at pitches that they think they're going to hit. But it's been interesting to see that this Toronto Blue Jays team is not making adjustments clearly. And they got to figure something out because this offense has been putrid, to say the least. And I feel like the pitching staff is getting pretty sick of making one mistake in the game like Jose Berrios did in that rain delay game and getting punished for it and ending up losing the game.
Well, it's weird. So, sorry if I'm a little bit off. Throat's been killing me. I've been yapping too much. Where I want to go with Bo and Vlad are very different. When I talk about Bo, I think of a guy who looks for that first pitch fastball and usually takes advantage of that first pitch fastball. And I think he's a guy that has to swing early. He has to get on top of those balls. He loves to hit early in those counts. He's good at it. If he can get a hold of some of those balls, he's been watching a little bit more. And I don't think that's good for him. Looking at Vlad, it's the complete opposite. I think he's got to watch pitches. He's got to wait for his. Whereas Bo likes to get out in front. He wants that fastball. He looks for it, but not so much this year, which is a problem, I think. Looking at Vlad, I mean, it's just got to be better. You know what? I could go into all the stats and whatever, and I always talk about not being a stats guy, but then I bring them up. At the end of the day, these guys aren't swinging. They're not looking for the right pitches. That's what it seems like. They'll take a pitch that's, high and inside or whatever, just high in the zone and inside for a strike, and then they'll swing at a slider down and away outside of the zone, and it just looks horrible. It's disheartening, to say the least, watching some of these swings. I know we always say this, and it's a cliche. They look like they're swinging a garden hose out there, and it is just horrendous. And George Springer, he's the worst of the three. He's the worst of the three. He has been, I'll use your word, putrid. He's been absolutely horrendous. And something needs to change. So we've put together a little bit of our own lineups, Carter, that what we think is realistic. I'm going to go in a bit different direction, and I'm going to take a different look at it, but I want to hear your projected. If you were John Schneider making this lineup, there has to be changes. What are those changes going to be?
See, if I'm John Schneider, this is definitely going to look a lot different than what he's going to put out. Clearly, he's not accustomed to making these decisions. It is early on in the year, and you got to rely on these players. So I'm not saying you want to put Bo, Vladdy, and George Springer at 7, 8, and 9 because you do have to rely on these guys to be good. You don't want to take all the bats away from them. You do have to rely on them. But if something isn't working for so long, you definitely have to switch something up. And I think this is the point that we are at. So for me personally, this might be a little bit of a hot take, but I love Ernie Clement leading off. I think he has been unbelievable this season. He's hitting 277. That's the problem with George Springer right now in that leadoff spot. He's not getting on base. And you need your leadoff hitter to be on base for guys like Justin Turner when Vladdy and Bo are actually hitting. You want this guy to be on so they can drive him in. So Ernie Clement has been very good at doing that this season. I have Ernie Clement as my number one spot guy. The problem is they're not going to play him every day. So that's where the realisticness of this kind of goes south a little bit. But if I was me, I want Ernie Clement in there. I'm keeping Bo Bichette at 2. Again, he's your best hitter on the team when he's on. It sucks because he's struggling so badly right now. And I want to move him down, but I feel like he's going to figure it out. And I don't want to just throw in a bunch of guys that aren't accustomed to hitting high up in the order, especially in the major leagues. So I'm leaving Bo Bichette at 2, Justin Turner at 3. That one's pretty self-explanatory. I feel like he's been the best hitter on this team. Definitely want him having at-bats. Number 4 for me, I have Dalton Varsho. So that's where this gets a little bit out of place here because you think Vladdy, maybe you think George Springer. No, I have Dalton Varsho. He's going crazy, obviously. As you're watching the games, Dalton Varsho hitting home run after home run. He is fast, and that's why I don't have him actually as the leadoff guy because he's not a guy that gets on base. You want him to hit with runners on. Braden, I just kind of grinded off my first 4 there. I'll give it back to you to give over your first 4.
Yeah, so for me, there's 2 different thought processes here. The first bit of me wants to do a complete revamp because these guys aren't getting it done and there has to be a message sent. So to me, what that says is you play your guys. I don't know what the best way to say this is. Do you want to win ball games now or do you want these guys to try to figure it out? That's what the decision has to be. If your decision is we can't afford to lose too many games at the beginning of the season because likely it will come back to bite us, If that is the thought process, then you have to take these 3 guys and move them down and play your guys that you know are going to get the job done, aka Justin Turner, Varsho, Schneids, Biggio, Clement. These are the guys that you need getting the most at bats. If we're thinking in the long term, you need Bo to pick it up. You need Vlad to pick it up. Springer's, I feel like, is a guy that's a little bit more You don't necessarily need it. So I'm going to go at this from 2 directions. The first one is I go Kevin Biggio, Ernie Clement, Justin Turner, Dalton Varsho. Now, that's unrealistic, to say the least. But if you want wins now, like we've always talked about riding the hot hand, this is riding the hot hand. Or my more realistic, what I think is realistic is exactly what you said. You go Ernie, you go Bo, Justin, Varsho, and then you're probably hitting into your Vlads and your David Schneiders, depending on obviously on the lineups. But yeah, and then Vlad would go 5. I don't know if that's where you're at too. Are you going back to Vlad at number 5? And what did you think about, honestly, of what I said about if you want to win games now?
I understand where you're coming from. Is it realistic? Absolutely not. There's no way this is going to happen. John Schneider's not going to take his 3 vets on the team and put them down in the order. It's not going to happen. More realistic, I can see them moving Springer, and I think that's the easiest fix. I think you move Springer out of that first spot because, like we said, you got to get on base. Springer clearly is struggling a little bit. Did have a nice game 2 games ago where he had that home run and the double, but it's not consistent enough. Bichette and Vladdy, I feel like this is where the Jays are limited. I feel like we can speculate all we want, but I don't see Bichette or Vladdy ever hitting outside the 4 hole unless like this kind of production consists for like another 60 games. And we're at the point where these guys are so terrible that we just simply cannot have them in the top 5. That's almost where we're at right now, which is the interesting part. So for my list personally, I have Vladdy at 5 and Springer at 6. But what I think John Schneider is going to do, I think if anything, he's just going to move Justin Turner up in the lineup. I think he might move Springer back. I do see that as being a possibility, but I don't see this being a huge revamp. And I feel like a lot of Blue Jays fans are actually going to be on the side of John Schneider, but they don't want a huge revamp. They just want a little bit of a switch. They want to just see kind of what happens. And we're not saying like put Bichette, Vladdy on the bench. It's not really hurting you a whole lot to drop them down a little bit, considering they're not hitting at all. But like you said, you do have to rely on these guys down the stretch, but I'm pretty much just throwing the towel in. It's not working, obviously. In 17 straight games, we have not scored more than 5 runs. Let's change something. At this point, I don't even care what it is. Put IKF leading off. If he's going to hit it, sure. We got to switch something up. We need runs. The pitching staff is going to get gassed. You saw it in the rain game delay as well with Jose Berrios. He had 1 bad pitch, cost him the game. The offense has to be better. I'm willing to do anything at this point.
Yeah, and it comes down to, like I said, you have to go at this from a thinking of, are these games going to matter in the end? If these games are going to matter later down the stretch, then you have to make changes now. You cannot wait for these guys to figure it out in 20 games. That's just not going to work. You're not going to make the playoffs. And I hate to say that, but at the end of the day, the goal of the season is to make the playoffs and win the World Series. For us not to be thinking like that is ridiculous. This team isn't going out to try to win the last 30 games of the season. This team needs to win enough games to sneak into the playoffs at minimum. And if we stick with this lineup for much longer, the way it is, that might fall drastically to the side. But we'll see.
So I got 2 questions. So first, I just want to get like a concrete. What do you think is realistic? What list is actually going to be, or what would a change realistically look like in the batting order? And also, out of the 3, George Springer, I want you to rank them: George Springer, Bichette, Vladdy. Who are you the least concerned about to the most concerned about?
I think Bo's going to figure it out. If I had to pick one, Vlad next. Springer, I have almost no faith. I think you get him the hell out of the top 4 guys. You keep him as far away from that spot until he proves that he is worth being there, which he is not yet. A realistic thought is Ernie Clement. The guy has proven it. He is an on-base machine. You need him. You put him at number 1. You go Bo. You got to keep. There's no way that Bo is going to leave there. So you go Bo. Then I think you go JT, Varsho, Vlad. And then
Yeah.
everywhere else is a little bit, it changes from day to day, and you get Springer in there somewhere, I guess, in the bottom. But yeah, that's honestly my only pick right now because I don't know where to go from here. I don't know what to do with Vlad. I honestly, I barely know what to do with Bo, but they're not going to move him out of there. Um, I don't know. I don't know if I'm because if it's me and I I'm coaching my high school baseball team, um, and guys aren't producing. I don't care if you're a senior on the team or if you're a rookie. You got to do your job. And I know you're paying these guys a lot of money, but if they're not doing their job, and I'm not saying take them out of the lineup, they got to figure it out. Because if they don't figure it out, this season's a wash. But move them down. Try to scrape together some wins when you can.
Yeah, the only thing I don't see as being realistic, unfortunately, as the stats are saying that he's a good baseball player and he's doing his good job as well as anyone on the team. He's one of the best hitters on the team, in my opinion. That is Ernie Clement. I don't see John Schneider leading him off. I don't even see him giving him the full-time hours of playing.
No.
Ernie Clement, he seems like he's lucky to play, honestly, 1/3 of the time at this point. But every time he's in the lineup, he seems like he's fairly productive. So I think John Schneider, we're at the point where clearly his decisions are all over the place. And I don't know if he's basing them on the eye test now, on the analytics. I don't know what. Maybe he's just pulling names out of a hat. I don't know what
Yeah,
he's
it
doing.
seems day to day.
So I don't really see him doing anything drastic with this lineup. Unless somebody's really in his ear about switching this up. I think if anything, they may just move up Justin Turner in the order and they maybe move Vladdy back. It sucks because you have a manager who's shown signs of being incompetent. I'm not going to go that far. I'm actually surprised about the Blue Jays rage we had with John Schneider. I knew he wasn't favored in the Blue Jays fandom, but holy, people hate this guy, which is well deserved, honestly. And I'm getting more and more on that boat every single day. But it's just, I feel like there's just going to be no change. I feel like John Schneider's too big of a player's coach to actually go up to these stars and be like, hey, you're not doing your job. You're not doing what we need you to do. You're going to have to hit lower in the lineup. I don't know if John Schneider necessarily has the balls to do that.
No, I 100% believe he doesn't have the balls to do that. This is it. You're not supposed to be their best friend. You're supposed to be the general manager of this team. Figure it out, make the changes, get some wins. That's it. That's your job. You won't have a job much longer if you don't get some wins. At the end of the day, that is what matters, is winning baseball games. It's not making friends. As much as I love the culture on this team most of the time, it all comes down to wins. Fans aren't going to show up if you're not winning. You're not going to get the support that you need if you're not winning. You're not going to be making money if you're not winning, and that's what this all comes down to at the end of the day, is making money, getting wins.
No, absolutely. We need wins. We need them bad. 3-1 loss to the Kansas City Royals. But obviously, the fourth game, we got a little bit of a bone to pick with the Major League Baseball, more so than the Toronto Blue Jays. But we'll get into all that coming up. Today's episode is sponsored by DoorDash. So obviously, Mother's Day is coming up, so it's time to start thinking of some gift ideas. And what a better way to do that with DoorDash. With a DoorDash Pass membership, you can save with a $0 delivery fee and a reduced service fee on eligible orders from Dash Pass merchants that meet the minimum subtotal. Other fees, including service fees, apply. Get a Mother's Day gift today with DoorDash. You can use code LOCKEDONMLB to get 50% off your next order, up to $15 off when you spend $15 or more on your next flour, convenience, tech, grocery, or retail order now on DoorDash. That's promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms apply.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My throat is killing me right now. I am hurting. If I sound a little weird, I'm hurting right now. Carter, the rain delay. I'm sorry. We play 5 innings and we get a loss. This is just ridiculous. I'm sorry. I know this is just how things work. And I know this is an MLB thing. It's been around for forever, blah, blah, blah. This sucks. This sucks. This win or this loss sucks. At least when there's a full game and the boys don't show up and can't get the job done, that's a different thing. This just sucks. This sucks as a fan turning on the game. I was at work. Of course, I got my one monitor going with the game on. And yeah, that's it. And Like this just, I don't know. I don't really have a ton to say about it. It just sucks. It sucks as a fan. It probably sucks as a player. It sucks as a broadcaster, I would assume. They're sitting there vamping for, 3, 4, 5 hours until the game finally gets called. This just sucks, Carter.
Yeah, it's not fun, especially when they had to sit there for such a long time thinking that they might end up playing the baseball game. Didn't end up happening. I was actually kind of excited for the delay because I had an exam, of course, during game time, and I saw that it was delayed. I'm like, oh, perfect. Like maybe I'll be able to catch this back half of the game. And then nothing happened. Just a whole lot of just sitting around. And then we get the news that the Toronto Blue Jays lose the game 2-1 after 5 innings. 5 innings just seems like such a short amount of time for a baseball game. I know, like you said, it's been around for a while. Even 6 innings for me seems like that's not enough to fully decide a baseball game. I think it should be like double headers, and be 7 innings. 7 innings should be the absolute minimum. I know that's tough for games to be played with rain delays and stuff like that. It's tough to get innings in when the weather is like that. But it's just it's a crappy feeling as a Blue Jays fan when your offense isn't hitting, and maybe this is a blessing in disguise because maybe the Blue Jays offense wasn't going to get another hit for the rest of the game. So now we have a little bit of a crutch we can rely on. But it sucks as a fan seeing a 5 inning game that's decided like that, especially when the Blue Jays had Cole Ragans or going against Cole Ragans, and he had 76 pitches thrown in the 5th inning. Probably going to get him out of the inning in the 6th. The Royals do have a good bullpen, but they're not as good as Cole Ragans. So maybe they do some damage there. A bunch of what ifs. But with the way the Blue Jays offense is playing, like I said, maybe it's just a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, maybe. You might be right, but I don't care. I turn on baseball games to watch baseball, and the biggest thing is when we get a loss because of this, that just sucks.
Well, especially Jose Berrios being on the bump as well. He had pitched
and
really
he gets nailed with the loss because of this is just garbage.
He threw one bad pitch that got launched by Salvador Perez, 2 runs over 5 innings, and the Blue Jays just can't hit. So Jose Berrios is the one that takes the fall, it seems like, for this rain delay.
Well, and I don't understand. They're going to play if this game didn't make it 5 innings, they would have ended up playing this game as a doubleheader. I'm sorry. I agree. I think 7 innings, I don't know, because maybe I'd be just as pissed if it was 7 innings and we lost because of this. And I think the worst part is it's a 1-run ball game. That's, I think, what does it. If we're down 5-rip and we lose, well, we deserve to lose that. If we're up, then we're like, okay, we got away with 1. But because it's a 1-run ball game, we had a little bit of hope, which maybe we shouldn't. But yeah, we had a little bit of hope and it sort of got taken away.
Well, and also, if the Toronto Blue Jays were maybe up 2-1 in the series, maybe if they had 3 wins and we weren't losing this series 3-1 as a result of this rain delay, it just hurts that much more. It just felt like a horrible series. I know we won a game in the series, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels like we got worked up and down the lineup, just had no offense throughout the entire series. It's not going to play, and it's the Kansas City Royals, and it's not going to get easier when we go to Los Angeles and play the Dodgers. So, yeah, I mean, quite the pitching staff over there as well. And actually, sorry, the Dodgers come to Toronto, but yeah, we got the Dodgers, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts. There's definitely going to be a lot better hitters on that team than there will be on the Kansas City Royals. So we're going to have to see how that transpires in the future.
Yeah, Carter. And you know what? To cap this off, I got rinsed on our, what is it, like bets that we do or whatever, of who we think's going to win, how many games of which series. I got rinsed. I absolutely rinsed up and down. I'm getting kicked in fantasy. It's been just, I got a sore throat, just a garbage week. Just an absolute garbage week. And it just hurts. And the Canucks lost last game. The Jets lost last game. I'm just like, I'm destroyed right now. I need to go sleep this off. I might have to have a shower just to wash off the pain. I don't know. Something. But let's preview this Dodgers series because, Carter, I need to know where your head's at because if I'm coming in after this one, I'm not feeling too good. But I know we have to always throw it to, and we should, the Locked On streaming service.
I'm actually very surprised that you did remember. I thought I was going to have to cut you off again. But yeah, perfect opportunity with the NFL draft being on last night, the day we are recording this. The Panthers did trade up and grab their wide receiver, and a bunch of stuff happened. A crazy draft. 6 quarterbacks being drafted in the first 12 picks. First time ever that's happened. Obviously, there's going to be a ton of recaps, reviews on this draft. Perfect opportunity to head over to the Locked On 24/7 streaming channel. Also on the Amazon TV Fires app. So either one, whatever is easier for you, you can go to either one to digest our sports content I advise the NFL. I'm a big NFL guy. The draft's one of my favorite times of the year because the thing I like about the NFL draft is that you see the players that are drafted, a lot of them in the first round actually play the first year. It's not like this guy has disappeared for 4 years and all of a sudden he comes up throughout the system. They make an immediate difference. So head over to the Locked On 24/7 streaming channel or the Amazon TV Fires app. Either one will work. Locked On streaming channel, all the sports content you could ask for.
Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. I've been betting a ton on the NHL playoffs. It has been a sickness probably up to this point because I have been doing okay, but not great, but okay, I guess. I also lost some money on the NFL draft. I won some money on baseball. My Blue Jays bet actually got voided, so that was sort of awesome because I probably would have lost that one. So right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. I always say it. The safety thing is a big thing. I love that it's secure. My passwords don't get, shared, nothing like that. FanDuel is fantastic. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So, Jays, Dodgers.
Before we get into that, I did want to get into some news as well. So First off, I did talked about this off camera, but Kevin Gausman says something about the Vladdy error at first base. So we don't need to talk about this too much on the podcast. Obviously, terrible play. I think I could have made that play. Some other people don't think I could have made the play. Maybe I got to figure that out and we got to prove them wrong. But Kevin Gausman says it stinks, but I still want Vladdy as my first baseman. I'm very confident in his ability over there. I'm not. I don't know. Maybe I'm watching something else, but maybe I'm too hard on Vladdy. But you guys can let me know if I'm too hard on Vladdy. How do you think Vladdy is defensively? Maybe we'll leave that as a pinned comment. But I don't think Vladdy is good defensively either. People say he won a Gold Glove in 2022. These Gold Gloves are ridiculous. Dalton Varsho didn't win a Gold Glove last year. They don't mean anything. He did have an okay year defensively in 2022, but the amount of regression this guy had last season and this season, he's been terrible at first base. And especially when this guy's not hitting either, it doesn't help when you see him missing an easy catch like this. It is nice that Kevin Gausman is backing him, but what else is Kevin Gausman going to say? Are you going to say, no, this guy sucks, I don't want him on the team? He's horrible at defense? I mean, Vladdy is really getting to me right now. I feel like I'm reading really hard on him, but with what he's shown us over the last week, it's tough not to be. It really is.
To be honest, I'm on the side of Gauzer here. I think that you don't have another option. You have to play Vlad, so he's got to say that. And first of all, I think it's good that he says, "Hey, that sucks," and because it sucked. I don't know how many times I'm going to say "suck" on this podcast today, but it's been about 900 times because it has not been good. You're 100% right in that regard. But hopefully this is a one-off. I don't know. I don't know how that's a one-off when you miss a baseball. We went over this already. I don't know how it's a one-off when you miss a baseball completely. That shouldn't have happened.
Well, even on the one hoppers, I'm noticing it looks like he's jabbing at the ball. It doesn't look like he's very comfortable at all at one hops. No. It looks like he's almost closing his eyes and just guessing and throwing his glove out there.
No, it sucks. It really does suck. I think I don't that's why I can't even stand when they ask players about this, their teammates. What are they going to say?
Yeah, you can't just dump on your guy in the media, right? So good response by Kevin Gausman, but hopefully Vladdy can just learn from that and learn how to catch baseballs. Again, I'm going to leave it at that. We'll just leave that in the past. Hopefully we can move on with this Dodgers series. But there is one more thing I wanted to get into before this Royal series, and it is the Bowden Francis injury. So Bowden Francis was optioned to the 10-day IL with right forearm extensor tendonitis. That is a mouthful. And option up is Brendan Little. I don't know a lot about this guy, but I've heard a lot of good things. Should be in as sort of the Jay Jackson role, kind of one of those guys we saw last year. Won't be in as high of leverage, probably a 5th, 6th inning guy. Just a guy to cover while Bowden Francis is down. Braden, you got anything else to add about that?
No, I mean, they had to pull up somebody, so fair enough. Again, don't know a ton about this guy. Hopefully, we'll get to actually see him pitch at some point. I'm guessing we will. But we'll see how the games go, see what dictates what here. So
See, I thought Zach Pop might get the call up. Obviously, coming over in that Anthony Bass trade, believe it or not, when that guy was a Blue Jay, quite the story there. But yeah, I was just interested why where Zach Pop is and where's Joey Votto, by the way. I haven't heard about this
Yeah,
guy
we talked
years.
about it today. Sort of weird, right? That we haven't. I would assume he's still recovering. I
I
don't
would
know.
assume so as well. I don't know what else he could be doing. It's just surprising we didn't get an update. Anyway, moving into this weekend series, back at the Rogers Center, the Dodgers come to town. Doesn't get any easier. So on Friday, it looks like we have Chris Bassett versus Gavin Stone. Saturday will be Yusei Kikuchi versus Tyler Glasnow. Tyler Glasnow has been ridiculous so far. And then on Sunday, it looks like Kevin Gausman against, it's not announced yet. Is it Paxton now? Because it was supposed to be Bobby Miller, but then he was on the IL for 15-day IL. So is it Paxton now for sure?
Paxton, yeah.
Okay, James Paxton. He's not bad. This pitching matchup, it's pretty tough. Gavin Stone, that's probably the one we have the biggest advantage in. But Gavin Stone is still a pretty solid pitcher as well. And then when you're looking at offenses compared in this series, we're at a huge disadvantage. Obviously, it's not even close. We need some hits because 4 runs in this series, I don't think is going to get it done.
No, to be honest with you, Carter, I was thinking about this long and hard of where I wanted to go with my picks this series. And you know what? I'm gonna try to be nice. I don't know. I'm gonna go 1-2 here. I want to take the Bassett win. I have to. I gotta go. I think that's our best shot. After that, Kikuchi's great, but facing Glass now against this offense, I don't trust it. And then honestly, James Paxton, we know what he can do too. I think Gosman's gonna have a good game, but I just think it's one of those classic Gosman starts that he doesn't get the help that he needs. So I'm going 1-2 this series, Carter.
Yeah, I mean, based off what we've seen from the offense in the previous series and going with the Dodgers here, I got 1-2 as well. I think it's impossible for me to go 2-1 after what we saw. I have the win being Kevin Gausman. I think it's going to be kind of a hell week for a little bit here. We're going to be in the dumps for the next couple games. Hopefully they can squeeze one out and maybe they flip a page with their momentum in that last game. But again, hopefully we can be proved wrong. I don't want my weekend to be ruined because the Toronto Blue Jays are getting absolutely smacked by the LA Dodgers. But moving into our previous standings before. So Braden had, I believe it was a 3-1 series. He got every single pick wrong. Nice job, Braden, I guess. And then for me, I was 2-2. So I picked up 2 points from that series, moving Braden up to a lead of 14-12. So
okay,
Braden,
I'm still up.
up. You're still up on me. Not a great series from you, but
no.
I mean, it is what it is. We were definitely not expecting a 3-1 loss to the Kansas City Royals. Kind of tough, but I mean, it is what it is.
That sucks for me. This week sucks, Carter. I've said that about 1 million times. If somebody do a sucks counter, I've said that about 1 billion times this episode, and I've caught myself, and I don't have another word because that's it. It sucks.
Yeah, Blue Jay season, always a lot of ups and downs. We're definitely in a down right now, and I don't know if it's going to get any better this weekend. I mean, I was looking at the schedule today. Eventually, we do have the White Sox, the Tigers, the White Sox, and then the Pirates. That might be hopefully a good stretch, but with the Toronto Blue Jays, they might find ways to lose against the Chicago White Sox. They are horrible, man. This team,
they're really bad. Oh,
they're
God.
historically bad. I thought the Athletics were bad last season. This team might be worse.
Imagine being the Locked On White Sox right now. God, those guys must be struggling.
And I know I've said this on the podcast. It can always get worse in Blue Jays land. It might not feel like it right now, but it can definitely be worse. We could be the Chicago White Sox and have, do they have 5 wins? That might be a little bit too lenient for them. I don't know. I don't really look at the bottom of the leaderboards for the MLB. Usually the Jays find themselves at least worst case in the middle, usually up at the top, unless you're talking about the AL East, because are they sitting at 4, I think, in the AL East now?
Yeah, the AL East is nasty. The AL East is the best.
We were tied
division
for the Rays at 500.
always. Of course.
It's never going to get easier.
And the Rays are nasty. That's what sucks. Everybody's nasty. Yeah, it's just tough, man. The AL East is so good, and it's tough when you have a good, season, and then the Rays have a good season, and then the Orioles have a good season, and the Yankees have a good season. Or if you have a bad year, you're just screwed. You're just flat out screwed. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And listen, I know I'm maybe a little bit more down than usual. I am feeling like garbage right now. So on top of all the losses that have occurred this week, if it's fantasy, if it's our series predictions, if it's the Jets, the Canucks, it has just been a rough one out here. The Jays can't seem to pick up a win. I am just all around hurting. I had to do push-ups at the whiteout party, and my arms hurt. It has just been a week, Carter.
Yeah, you've had a tough one so far. Definitely not a lot going well. But for me, the weekend is my freedom. I'm done school on Saturday. Hopefully, the Blue Jays can turn around their series as well, because this week has been definitely interesting to say the least. Hopefully, we can move on, get some nicer weather, move on, golf a little bit more for me, and get some Toronto Blue Jays wins. So just before we do head out, I want to say thank you guys for watching. The support we got yesterday was ridiculous. The debates we had, some people liked what we said, some people didn't. We were responding to a lot. It's always nice to engage with you guys, whether you agree or don't agree with us. I love talking about the Toronto Blue Jays, so I would do that 24/7 if I could. So I was kind of living in the comment section today. I know Braden was as well, so we always appreciate that. We also do notice that I think it's 67% now. We are getting better. Seems like every day. But now 67% of you guys are not subscribed. You're coming back, watching these videos all the time anyway. Helps us out a ton. Before we do head out, I want to throw it over to Locked On 24/7 streaming channel one more time. Any sport you want to watch, anyone you can think of, it's probably on the Locked On streaming channel. Go over there, or the Amazon TV Fires app, either one, whatever is more convenient, and digest some expert sports content. Braden, you got anything else to add for this Dodgers series? Hopefully some brighter times ahead.
No, I'm going to go sit in the shower and try to just like I said, wash the pain off here and then go to bed and wake up tomorrow and hopefully get some Blue Jays wins.
I'm going to try my best to create a positive spin zone, I guess, here. We're 500. It could be worse with that. Justin Turner's raking. That's pretty cool. Aston Barger had a good game when he played in the series.
Yeah, okay.
That was nice. But then, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to keep that positive. Well, maybe we'll save that for the weekend series. Have a fun weekend. Be safe, and we'll see you guys on Monday.
Go Jays, go.